I'm Melody Malone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, I am wearing my Pimpin' Joy shirt because we are going to be talking about joy today. The last part of my theory of power with balance equals joy. So stick around. We will go over joy, introducing that aspect of the theory. After that, then we'll talk a little bit about affirmations, what they are, and how they apply to what I'm going to share with you today. And then that's it for today. Short and sweet. I know we were supposed to have a guest on the show today, but we had to postpone that. We're going to do that next week. So if you'll just stick with me today, that's what we have on the agenda. Before we start talking about joy, I want you to do something for me. I want you to make a list. And this is an exercise that we're going to get back to a little later. So I want you to make a list of about 4 or 5 things that you have to do today. And after you get that done, I'll give you a minute. You can do it in your head if you need to, or just make a list on paper. 4 or 5 things that you have to do. Once you get that complete, you can stop the video, do whatever you have to do, make that list, and then I want you to just put it aside. Okay? All right. Now, I think joy just might be the most difficult concept of this whole theory. And what I mean by that is managing and maintaining joy. We tend to think of joy as something that just happens to us when all of the other things in our life just kind of fall into place perfectly, then poof, we find joy. And as my theory states, that in part is true, at least in part, because of the fact that having access to our power, understanding how to manage our power and control it, and being in control, along with balancing out the many areas of our health from our health wheel, gives us that really great foundation upon which to build and to have and find happiness and joy in our lives. So what happens when things aren't just right? What if things are a little out of balance? Things are a little askew, right? Then what? How do we find joy in that? And how do we make that happen? Well, when it comes to me and my power, I focus on the things that I have control of. If I'm in a situation where things aren't exactly right, if I'm dealing with a situation that, it's been thrust upon me, maybe a crisis situation, the way that I can find joy and have joy in the situation partially is by accessing and tapping into the things that I can control, the things that I do have power over. I focus on those things, not on the other things. And I keep my focus on the things I have control of. Let's just say in this pandemic situation, this is not something that I chose. This is definitely something that's been thrust upon me and all of you. I can't control that. I can't control right now whether I wear a mask in a store or not. I'm told that when I'm out, I have to wear a mask. I can't control restaurants and going there with my family and being able to sit with everybody and enjoy a meal together. I can't control that. I can't control, I couldn't control it when the gym shut down and I didn't have my place to work out, which I love to do. So that was a little difficult. I couldn't control that. So I focused on the things I could control, right? I focus on my own attitude. I focused on my schedule. I focused on, okay, get up in the morning, set my time up at 6 o'clock, and then I had an agenda for the day. I would schedule my day. What were some of the things I was going to do? First of all, I would tap into my spiritual health by having my devotions with my God. That's reading in scripture, saying my prayers, things like that. So I made sure that I took care of that. When the gym was closed, I had a really great group of friends, and we decided that since the gym was closed, we were going to get outdoors and still work out. And we were going to work out together, which is phenomenal because it kept the emotional connection, the social connection, and I was able to do my physical exercise. We went to a park. We would meet up there. We kept our distance from each other. So one of the ladies in our group used to be a trainer, and so she would bring the workouts, and they were phenomenal. So not only were we able to maintain this physical health and our social connection, but also emotional health. And it was really great being outside. We were outside in the sunshine, getting our vitamin D and enjoying the weather, and it was really great. Again, I couldn't control that the gyms were closed, but I could control my own physical health. I also enjoyed getting back into doing the things that I loved that I hadn't done in a while, and that's getting out and riding my bike, or going for a run, or going for a hike. And some of the things that before the pandemic, I had gotten so caught up in going to the gym every day, which I still enjoy going, but it just had become habitual. It was not an intentional, I'm going to go to the gym today to do this, but tomorrow I'm going to go for a run. It was just almost mechanic. I just went. Every single day I was in the gym, which is great, but I failed to enjoy being outside and the things that I love doing outside. So that is a way that we tap into our power to find this joy. We have to focus on the things that we have control over, and that is our power. And as far as balance, I touched on a little bit of it already, is making sure that each area of our health is being addressed, right? We've got ways that we can do that during the pandemic. When we have to make adjustments, that's what throws us off a little bit. If we can't see each other personally, well, then we still have social media. We have phone calls. We have other ways of making contact with people. FaceTime, Zoom meetings, whatever it has to be, so that you're making and keeping that social contacts for your emotional health. There are other things that probably have had to been adjusted and other areas of your life. But the point is, whatever it is that you've had to do to maintain that balance is you do. And then that's what's going to contribute again to this joy that you feel, right? So you can say, I have my power. I can't control this whole thing. I can't control what's going on, but I can control my life, and I can control what I'm doing with it. So that again, it lays this foundation for joy and being able to find happiness and joy in your life. This shirt, by the way, I just want you to know, this is from one of my favorite radio stations. Bobby Bones is a syndicated program, and he's a country genre, and I happen to get this shirt through their program. So I'm not taking credit for it. Love the shirt. Today I'm going to try to pimp some joy though here with you. So moving on. So we've talked about having control and how that taps into our power and our balance, right? Maintaining this power and balance. Okay. Speaking of control, our brains were never meant to control our feelings and emotions. We have that control over ourselves. It is taking control of the situation rather than letting that situation take control of us to maintain that mental health. We have the control over our thoughts and our actions. We have the control over how we feel. We may think that it's the outside, right, influencing us, when in fact, the outside influences affects, though, only if we let it. Does that make sense? So we have influence, and we have those influences, but they're only going to rock our world and really throw us off pace if we allow the influences to take control over us. We can maintain that control over our brains and our thoughts and our feelings. There are a lot of studies about this. Cognitive behavioral therapists know that we have this ability to control our feelings and emotions instead of them controlling us. So we have to change those thought processes from a negative bias to a positive bias. Okay? One way that we can do this is simply by changing up just a couple of words. So I want you to pull out your list now, or think about it, however you did it. And I want you to look at your list. Okay? These are our have-tos, right? So we have to. Maybe on your list you said, I have to go to work today, right? Science has shown that if you change just one word from have to, change the have to get. I get to go to work today. Now, what would be the circumstances that would cause you to say get instead of have? Well, I don't know, maybe you have a job. There are a lot of people right now who aren't working. So if you look at it from that perspective, you can say, wow, I get to go to work today, right? There may be people who physically are incapable of working, who would like to be working, but now don't have that opportunity. Again, you get to go to work, okay? Maybe you said something like, I have to clean. I have to do some cleaning today. I have to clean my house. I have to clean my bathroom, whatever it is. Change that around as well. I get to. You get to. Why? Oh, because you have a house. A lot of people don't have houses. I've been reading more and more about people living in their cars these days. Terrible. I have a house to clean. I get to clean my house. Another way of looking at that is I want to. You know, I want to clean my kitchen because I like how I feel when my kitchen is clean. I like to go down and have everything in its place and everything put away. I like that feeling. So I want to clean my kitchen and do my dishes. Same theory, same results. Okay? Our brains respond to what we tell it. It's powerful. I want to read to you here. It's a quote by a psychologist. He's a doctor and also at the Cleveland Clinic. He says, I want to make sure I find it here. Our brain responds very powerfully to the way we use language when we talk and the way we use language in our thoughts. So the things that we're thinking and the things that we're saying, our brain responds to. Okay, so we need to reframe that, like we talked about, going from the negative bias to a positive bias. When we use the words we have to, it sounds like a burden. When we use the words we get to, it sounds like an opportunity. And our brain recognizes that. It is amazing how that works. Our brain recognizes that, and then what was a negative bias now becomes a positive bias. And it changes our attitude. It's just amazing the power that we have over our brain. This leads to positive thought, optimism, which in the long run contributes even to a longer life. It's a really amazing thing. So, as you've had your list and you've put your things on your list, I hope that you will go back and look through those and make that simple change in your life. They said it can just be a world of difference from have to want to. The situation that we've been in as well, in changing the perspective of how we look at things, you might look at the pandemic and it has been a difficult thing, but I guarantee that if you take a moment, you'll find some things that you've benefited from, things that have benefited you from this pandemic situation. And I use this right now because it's a common thing that we're all going through. We can all relate to it. We've all been affected by it, in different ways, but we've all been affected by it. So I feel like it's something we can all relate to. Very relatable. So having gone through that, there are some very difficult things I know some people have gone through. And I know that there have been some very wonderful things also come out of this, that if we take the time to look at it from a different perspective, I know one thing is that we've spent more time together as a family since the pandemic because we can't get out as much. We're not going out as much. We don't have the social network we used to have. And our time when we are home, we're spending more time together. It's a big plus, right? There are those, okay, so here's the thing. You say, oh, I can't do this. It isn't, right? It can't be. this easy. It is. And there is someone who stands up in my mind as one who is a fine example of this. Being able to be in the most negative situation and turn it around and be positive and have just a happy, joyful soul. And that is Betsy Temboom. I know you've probably heard of Corrie Temboom. Corrie is Betsy's sister. And we hear about Corrie a lot more probably than Betsy, because Corrie is the one who survived, and Corrie wrote the books that we read, the stories about their experiences and being in these camps during the war and being treated very poorly, being in very horrific living conditions, not having a lot of food to eat, experiencing illness and pain and cold and many, many other depravities. Betsy is the one who always kept Corrie on point when it came to finding the joy in the situation. Corrie was very good about following through and loving her sister and supporting her and recognizing the truth in what Betsy would say to her. But Betsy would always be the first one to point out the good in their situation. One example in particular, when they were in this particular camp that they were in, and it's just, I can't even imagine. Multi-layers of beds in this huge, what I would imagine looked like just a big open warehouse, from reading the book and thinking about what it might be like. Windows around, up high on the walls, and those windows, many of them were broken. There was no heating or cooling, so of course any weather would be experienced inside the room as well. Of course, closer in probably was a little buffered from that. As you're on the outer areas, you're going to get more of that. The food was just disgusting. There were actually fleas. That was the big thing. Fleas in the bed. And Betsy and Corrie happened to be Christian, and they happened to be able to sneak in this Bible. They carried it with them wherever they went. And one of the sisters, I can't remember which one now, was able to hide it in the hem of her skirt or somewhere in their clothing at all times so that they would be able to get this Bible into wherever they were going to be, whatever camp, whatever situation. And they would pull it out at night. And this is where Corrie and Betsy found a lot of joy in their lives, is being able to share the stories, these Bible stories and the stories of their God. And they couldn't understand why they were able to do this so openly and freely in this room. They would do it at night. Everyone would come in. They all slept in the same area. And one day, while on her duty was, Betsy was making socks, mending socks, and making socks for the troops. I believe these were for the German troops. And she had a question. And she tried to call one of the guards over. But the guard wouldn't come to her and kept his distance and looked down and made the reply and kind of answered her as best as he could without getting close. And she wondered about that. And then it came to her and it clicked, and she said, the fleas. I think he must have made a comment about the fleas. And she said, that's why we're left alone at night. They don't want to get fleas. And their fear is by coming into this big room where everybody's sleeping, all these beds are, all the fleas are, they're going to get fleas. And so, horrible, right? Fleas. I've never been bitten by a flea. But I've heard they're itchy, and that's what they do mostly when they bite the dogs, and that it's itch. They itch a lot. So here Betsy was living in the midst of this dirty, stinky, cold, wretched place. And yet she couldn't wait to go back and tell her sister Corrie, I know why we're able to do this now. The fleas, What a blessing it is. God has blessed us with fleas so they will stay away from us and we can share this story. It is an amazing story. Amazing. And Betsy really had this down. She understood. She knew how to find that joy, even in the worst of circumstances, because she took control. She couldn't control her situation. What she could control was her attitude. And she did. It's possible. It is possible. Find that power within you to find and see things from a different perspective. Look at the perspectives of what you can be grateful for, what good is in this, taking power and control over the things that you can, and then just having the balance and finding that joy. It's there. I promise you it's there. Even in the worst of times, it's there. Okay, today we are going to wrap up the segment with, or talking about affirmations. And what is an affirmation? An affirmation is a positive thought or phrase that you say to yourself. And they're many and varied, and you could go on and do a search on your internet, and you're going to find a plethora of, and honestly, they all claim to be the best 35 affirmations you can give yourself, the best 21 affirmations, and I'm good with that. I think it's great. You can look those up and read through them, and if some of them speak to you, then I love it. And you can tap into those and use them. And the point is to do, as we talked about before, to feed your brain with some positive energy, some positive health, some positive ideas, positive thoughts, positive words. And for me personally, well, I'll give you an example of some of them. Some of the ones I looked up online that you can access is, my body is full of energy and joy today. I am happy and at peace with the world. Those types of things. Those are affirmations. And they're beautiful. They're really beautiful things. For me, I like those, but I've never used those. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't use them. Again, if they tap into you and your inner soul and it works and you like it and you hold on to that, then I say use them. For me, I prefer to choose affirmations that work on a weakness that I have. So I may choose something and I will create it myself. I will say, what is something that I might be struggling with at this time? And then I take that and I make it a positive. Let's say, man, I'm not very patient. Okay, I've really got to work on my patience. I don't know why I just lose my temper or whatever it is. Then I would say to myself, if that were my situation, I would say, I am a very patient person. I am going to be very patient today. I am going to practice patience. I can do this. So let's turn it around. Cognitive behavioral therapy would suggest that you take it and go, not I'm impatient, so not to label yourself, but to say, I've had some experiences in my past where I have reacted in a way that was very impatient, but I'm not going to do that today. Okay, so we don't attach ourselves to the negative or the weakness that we might possess. Okay, we relate to it, we acknowledge it, but we don't attach ourselves to it. It is not part of who you are. I am not impatient, right? I happen to experience moments of impatience. See the difference? I also like to use scripture verses. One of the ones that I absolutely love that I've used so many times, and I will say it to myself, and that's the point of affirmations as well, is to speak them to yourself out loud. And the one verse that I've used over and over and over again is, I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me. I love that verse. It gives me power because I'm tapping into his power, and it makes me feel really good about my day. And like, I've got this no matter what. No matter what's thrown at me, I've got it. Another simple one is, I'm strong. I am powerful. I can do this. So whether you go and look up some powerful affirmations that will work for you, or whether you create your own, I suggest you give it a try, especially in areas where you might be struggling, or in areas where you might be weak or low in your self-esteem or your confidence. That's where my focus would be, and that's what I would do. I challenge you to do that. First of all, to change your have tos to get tos or want tos, and then to find some really good positive affirmations that are going to help you to overcome any weakness or challenge you might be facing in your life. It was really good to be with you today. I'm glad to see you. Happy back. And I hope to see you next time, where we will have a guest on the show, a very good friend of mine, Natalie, who embodies this joy. She's just really phenomenal, has with her positivity and her spirit and her energy. So you won't want to miss it. It'll really be a good show, I promise. See you then.